What are you wearing?
A Canadian tuxedo. I'm a hockey player. Let's go Blues.
Let's go Blues.
Let's go Blues.
Who are you, Blues fan? We're bleeding blue with you.
Let's go Blues. Let's go Blues. Let's go Blues.
Presented by Scott Credit Union, your St. Louis Blues.
BlueNote Fan Report. I guess I screwed that up again. What's new? Hello, hello, hello. How are you all doing out there? Oh, I look a little dark. Got to turn the light on. Hold on, hold on, hold on. There we go, there we go, there we go. That's a little bit better, maybe a little too bright. I might tone it down here. Oh, I need to tone it down a lot. Oh, ouch. Ouch, said the man. I think that works a little bit better. Yeah, it does. May have to play with the brightness here in a little bit, but hey, it is what it is. How are you all doing out there today? Yes, I said there wasn't going to be a show today, but then I got a message from Slapshot saying she wanted to do a show, so here I am, and there's no Slapshot. Now, she's on her way. We have a Slapshot sighting. She told me she's on her way, maybe 5-10 minutes. We'll hope we get to see her. Jason Nichols says it's almost here. Bring on preseason. I'm not as excited as you. E says let's go Blues. The backdrop is badass. Yeah, I just thought I'd throw that in there. 3 weeks till preseason. I thought it was a month. I thought it was like 29 days. I could be wrong. But I know we're getting closer. And here's the funny thing. Yesterday, I posted about PTOs, and even Lance, they're not. I don't see any PTO. They signed a PTO guy today, a reclamation project. And what it looks like to me, what they'll do in the PTO category is look for guys that can play in Springfield. Right? Springfield has some lack of forward depth. That's probably what they're going to be looking at. I can see that. I thought I'd put my, I can't, so make sure I don't drop them and spill shit again. My brand new skates, that's the picture of them. My brand new used skates, I should say. But, yeah, that's what's up there. That's what's behind me. I thought I'd pop it in there. Thought maybe you guys like it. No, that's not a true statement. He won't be the highest paid player until the season after next, right? Because that's an extension that doesn't kick in until the year after, right? And then he will be the highest paid player. If I'm right, I may have to double look at something. You know, I used to keep cat friendly up here, but I don't see it. I got way too many windows. One of these days, I'm going to make all these windows go away so I can figure out what I'm doing here. I say that and then I don't, so. God, I swore I had cat friendly up here. Swore I did. swore I had it up here. I actually think he won't be the highest paid player until next season. I could be wrong. Signings. Yeah, let me look here real quick. Yeah, he's still at 11.6. So he doesn't hit that 13 million until next season. Right? So yeah, he's not the highest paid guy until next season. And then he jumps. Then he jumps into the highest paid guy. Right? Yeah, he's at 11.6. And then in 2025, or 25-26, or 24-25, he jumps into that 13.2 for 4 years. It's a good extension. I think it's a smart play. I think it's the right one. Right? Because it's when you sign the contracts, my friend, and it takes a little bit, so I don't see that. I think these skates are a size 7 or a 6. I look for a size on them. I know my size 9s blow by them, right? For comparison, I tried to put my foot in it and didn't even get close. Right? Hey, Marilyn. Because I'm allowed to, Marilyn. I'm a sailor. We have a different set of rules. Right? We have a different set of rules. So I get a free one. I think we're just over 48 days, somewhere around there. Oh my goodness, I kind of agree with that. Yeah, you got to remember with ice skates, they size down between 1 and 2 sizes. I'm a standard size 11, right, with a wide foot. So I wear size 9 skates. I could probably get into 10s and feel a little more comfortable, but they size down. And then here's the other thing with a lot of skates, and people don't realize this. They're custom molded to your feet. So even if I could get my foot in here, I'd have to take them and get them redone. I need to get mine redone. So they mold to your feet, so there's a much more comfortable. You have to be very comfortable in skates. And here, the thing with these, they don't have blades, right? I even if I could not take these out, excuse me, I couldn't take them out skating. They don't even have blades in them. I'd have to get blades. And blades, hell, the skates themselves are $1,000. The blades are another $200 a pair. Right? Baked. I'm not sure where you're going there, Chris. Oh, the mold. Okay, yeah. Yours are a mold of your feet. Yeah. So what they do is they heat up the skate at about 250 degrees. They take all of the string laces out of them. They heat them up to about 250 degrees, and you put your foot in them. They lace them up a very special way as to not pull the eyelets out of the mold, and then they form them around your feet. Is that right there, Chris? Yeah. You probably, if you're an 11 with wide feet, would need a 10. I probably need a 10 more than a 9. To be honest, I'm a 10 and between a 10 and a half and 11. I should probably have a 10. Next time I get home, I think I'm going to get myself size for skates, and then probably go to Play It Again Sports and get a pair of skates that I can take and get molded or baked to my feet. That's kind of what I'm looking at. No, yeah, you basically do, right? You basically do, right, Chris? Come on, Chris, help me out here. Yeah, that is an issue with hockey. That is an absolute issue with hockey. No, mine was. Oh wow, and then baked. Okay. Wow, what did you? Oh man, Chris, I know you had to pay a pretty penny for those. You had to have paid a pretty penny. Where did you get that done? Where did you get that done at? All right. Don't you have Tarasenko skates? Aren't you the guy that skates with Tarasenko skates? Technology's changed a bit, bud. Yeah, so what I'm talking about, where they take the skate, they put it in an oven, 250 degrees for 7-8 minutes. It makes that makes it pliable. You put your foot in it, with socks, obviously, and then they mold the skate around your foot with laces, and that helps that skate fit very comfortably in your foot. Right? I wish I'd have gotten that done with mine before I ended up breaking my wrist, because that's probably how I broke my wrist. Wow. There you go. Skate Tech True Customs, $1,256. Wow. Wow. Right? I know that these skates, I looked them up, run about $1,100. Just the skates. That's not the blades. The blades are another 200, depending on the style of blade. Right? Oh yeah, I'm guessing that they feel like an extension of your foot. I really am guessing that. I'd probably want to do that if I was playing as much as you were. I'd want to spend that money too. I do not have web toes. I do not have web toes. Come on, Jason, help me out here. Tell him you've seen a picture of my feet. Where's Ashley when I need her? Yeah, these are Brower Vapor Hyper Lights. They've got Walker's name on them. I don't know if you guys can see it. I haven't untied them, so they're still tied together. Yeah, I think you can see it there a little bit. Walker's name on the skates. Ow, shit. A little bit. It's kind of like highlighting it off it, but so they might be even more than that, and that's why at the price that they came in at, I just was like, man, I gotta do this. I put in a bid. So if you have not done something on, hold on a second. If you have never done the Blues Authentics or the Blues for Kids auctions, right? They have it to where you can set a maximum bid, an auto bid. And when these first came out, they had no bid on them. So I put the initial bid, and then I put an auto bid behind it, right? And that way, I would only bid up to that point. Basically, if someone bid one more time, and then I would give one more time after that, and then I'd be done. That's what happened. And then they never. Oh yeah, absolutely, and that's why I'm glad I went at it. I know the Blues for auction guy, and he helps me out a lot, and you do what you can, right? These are very, it's a good thing to add to my collection. That's kind of the way I look at it, right? That's kind of the way to look at it. I'm waiting for Ashley to get here because one of the questions I posed, I really want to pose to Ashley, right? And the reason I say that, oh, that's funny. That is funny, 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 funny. Yeah. I'm not going to share that. Oh my goodness. One of the questions I posed today, so I, different group chats and things like that, and in one of the chats I'm in, it's Binnington's the X factor. Many Blues fans believe that our goaltending is our biggest problem. And I don't. I don't even think it's close. In fact, it's the one thing that I don't think is an issue this season. There's something that got so missed last season that wasn't even funny. Right? Everybody looked at Binnington's numbers and, oh my God, they're bad. They're bad, they're bad, they're bad. Okay. In and of themselves, I get that. But you can never, ever, ever, ever take numbers in and of themselves. If you do that, you miss so much. You miss so much. When you look at goaltenders, to be able to separate them from the team, you have to look at their average together. When Greiss and Binnington's numbers were almost exactly the same, it told me it was a lot more of a team issue than a goaltending issue. Even though Greiss retired, he was a better goaltender than his numbers suggested. And so were Binnington's. Right? Absolutely, it's looking at the surface. It absolutely is. I seen on an earlier list Binnington like the fourth worst contract. Krug was next to him. And you know what? Great. That's somebody's belief. I don't believe that. Matlow, I don't believe that at all. Okay, great. Back it up. And you can't. You can sit there and say, da, 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 da. How is that a bad I don't see it. Right? I really don't see it. I don't. And I think that there are a lot of things that are missed overall. Right? And Matlow, you and me have had some pretty, I guess the word heated discussion would be Jason Nichols, Marianne Lester, glorious Eeper, Iguido. Thank you for putting those fingers in the air. Greatly, greatly appreciate you. I just kind of lost my place. You and me have had some pretty heated discussions when it comes to. Oh, I absolutely agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. And I think that's what's missed. This team went. Let me see if I can pull this up for you. Hold on a second. Give me a second. Okay. Here we go. So let's look at the differences between 2021, 21-22, and 22-23. This is important, right? This is a team that went from scoring 3.77 goals per game to scoring 3.17 goals per game. They went from giving up 2.91 goals per game to giving up 3.63. They went from a power play at 27% to one at 19.3%. They went from an 84.1 penalty kill to a 72.4 penalty kill. They went from allowing 239 goals to allowing 298. They scored 309. They went down to 260. That is not just goaltending. Tammy, I hope you're doing well too, my friend. I really do hope you're doing well. I know you've been going through a rough time, and my heart goes out to you, my friend. Right? Hey, McGungle. You guys were saying welcome, Ashley. Where is Ashley? Ashley, where are you? Binnington's save potential is not all the teams fear. They fear his crease. He's a hot commodity. I don't want to completely agree with that. I think that, okay, there she is. She's coming, I hope. Well, my heart goes out to you, and if you ever need something, Tammy, just reach out. You know, that's how I feel. I hope you know that. I could see that. I could see that. I could see that. Sometimes you got to look at the past to reveal the future, right? To ensure that you don't repeat it. And that's something that I think kind of needs to be done. I really do think that, and now, I will say this. Me and Wendy have had numerous arguments or discussions on this show. And normally, I feel like I lose them. The Binnington one is the only one that I've ever, and this was the one we had a couple of days ago when he was going in and out, so this might be a part of it. But it's the only one I ever feel like I won against him. Right? You know, he kept bringing up, well, Binnington got suspended because of this. Well, wait a minute. And I kept saying, no, hold on. None of that should have mattered. None of it should have mattered because he had never had a hearing before. He had never gone before. In fact, remember when and Ashley can tell you this, remember when he swung that stick at Kadri? And I thought, oh my goodness, he's going to player safety. Player safety said they had no issue with it. Right? My thing, the Binnington thing got blown so far out of proportion, it's not even funny. And the ones that should have taken the hit were the referees that night. Especially after Hartman came out and said, oh yeah, I told the referee he was going to do that. Right then and there, that referee should have stepped in and thrown Hartman out of the game. Absolutely. Hartman's the one that should have been thrown out of the game. And then that video, oh my goodness, I wish I could find it. I have watched all kinds of player safety suspension videos. And when they suspend somebody or fine somebody, they put a video out. The Binnington one was so editorialized it wasn't even funny. It was probably the most editorialized one I've ever seen. So it had a lot to do with everything. I feel like the NHL owes Binnington an apology and he should get his money back. All right? Hartman came out a couple of days later or a week later and said, I told the ref I was going to do that. I told him Binnington's going to blow up. Benner has the playoff edge like O'Reilly. His playoff stats are unbelievable, but he's been regressing every season. So, partially right there, bud. But at the same time, I look at that regression and I wonder how much of it is team-oriented, right? Because you look at his numbers prior to the getting COVID and they weren't regressing. I think COVID affected him a lot. Shagalicious. Hey, Shaggy, how are you, buddy? How are you, my friend? Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Guy is crazy. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Let's see here. There we go. That is a huge issue. Huge issue. Oh my goodness. Oh, she didn't even let me give her the intro.
No, sorry, I was trying to get things to work.
Oh, no problem. Hello, Ashley.
Hey, Guy, everybody.
Right? We have missed you.
I've missed everybody here, too.
Right? So, we were talking, I don't know if you, while you were coming on, we were talking about Binnington. And there's a majority of the fan base believes that Binnington is the quote-unquote X factor this season. And I don't at all. Right? I think that our goaltending is probably the one thing that we don't have to worry about.
I agree.
Right? And then the other thing is, oh my God, our defense. I'm not there yet. I still think defense is picking at a scab. Right? Mm-hmm. I feel like that when you say defense, you're picking at the scab and not the underlying cause of the defense. Right? And if you watch the Matt DeFrank show, the new Post-Dispatcher, were you on with me when we had him?
Yeah.
Okay. When I brought up about the offense going to the circle or the dot and stopping, looking for the pass, he looked at me like a deer in the headlight. Oh, I never noticed that. I get he's new, but man, that was consistently, time and time again. There was a change in the offensive system that I think has destroyed this team. I talked about this yesterday. The Blues had a chance to rectify this. And I want to go, great, we can rectify this. But they didn't. They got rid of Craig McTavish and one other assistant coach, and maybe you guys can help me remember who he is. And then they bring in a skills coach and a defensive coach. Okay? When are you going to fix your offense? And to me, that's the underlying cause of this team. That's the new NHL. The new NHL is your best defense is a good offense. When you don't have a good offense, your defense is going to falter. Mm-hmm. Does anybody agree with that statement or disagree with it? Shagalicious?
I don't see a reason to disagree with that.
Ashley?
I mean, I agree with it to a point. It everything has got to come together, perfectly to make a good team. Like the defense, the offense, everybody pulling their special teams weight. It all meshes together to make a good team. And if one area is weak, it's going to make the whole team fall altogether.
Okay.
The thing is that I think that's sometimes made up by talent. I mean, you can't replace experience with talent, but I mean, sometimes you have these players who have carried teams defensively by even though there is a hole somewhere on their defense. Defense is key. That is correct. But I feel like sometimes you have these unique talents that are on the ice that, I always found that when you have a guy out there like a Makar, who his talent is just so above sometimes some other players, he can make up for sometimes those holes missed.
Yeah, that is talent can make up for some of that. But when you say defense is the key, you have to understand. Oh, see, that is so wrong. This is so wrong, E. No. You know what?
Does this guy watch hockey?
Oh, he used to be
played
a
hockey.
goalie. He
So
played hockey.
I never understood this because the number one thing I was told as a kid when I was in a hockey league is just because you play offense doesn't mean you can't play defense. Just because you play defense doesn't mean you can't play offense. That's, I think, a basic thing I was always told as a kid. You got to know you got to play both sides. If you don't play both sides, you're not a hockey player. We used to lose ice time if we were showing lack of defense. I mean, I think that's a basic of hockey, just having both sides of your game. I mean, I mean, okay.
Here's the thing that's completely missed with offense. Let's take your top line, and I don't care whose line it is. You have your top line on ice. What line is your opponent going to put out there against you? In most aspects, what line will your opponent put out against you?
Against your top offensive, they're going to put their top defensive.
No, they're going to put their top line. Period. They're not going to put line 1 against line 4. They're going to put line 1 against line 1 or line 2. Right? So if your top offensive guys, your top line is going against their top line, and your top line stays in your offensive zone consistently, keeping their top line in a defensive posture, guess what happens? They tire out and they can't score. That is a type of defense that doesn't get talked about. That is how important a cycle is. That is how important getting into the zone and maintaining puck pressure in the zone is. When you don't have that,
this is Guy rant number 7 that he likes to go on.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
Okay, I want to go to Shocky's comment. Shocky's comment's great.
Mm-hmm. I agree with it. Absolutely.
I was going to Rube is a poor ice time manager. You know what? I'll tell you something. I'm gonna jump to my side of this because I have a belief when it comes to ice time that a lot of people probably do not agree in, and that's like this. If you looked at the Rangers, Gallant was fired, and many people say, "Well, why are you firing a guy who has not done bad as a coach? He has brought your team pretty far. Why do you fire the guy?" And there's a simple answer. The answer is technique and the way he believes to run a team. The technique he had was, if he likes you as a player, he'll play you more. He doesn't like you, he'll play you less. I don't care if you're Connor McDavid. If he didn't like you, he'll play you less time. That's his belief, because his belief is that you got to play for me. I'm the coach, play for me. And this is how he believed. And he also believed in not really pushing the guys to a level where he was his, not his guys' coach, but you didn't see the same push for his guys. You saw him more care about the game on ice. You would see him active and screaming by a game, but you don't hear, oh yeah, he gave an inspiring talk. He wasn't a guy in the locker room that did that. And they need that. The players needed to be held responsible, and they never were. I believe when it comes to ice time, that cannot be fluctuated. You can't take a player that's struggling and say, I'm minimizing your ice time, because I believe that the only way that player will get back to what he is by keeping his ice time consistently playing and getting back to what he is. Some people believe I'll shrink his time. We'll play better. You know what? That is a technique. That is a technique. I believe that if you don't change the technique, you keep it going, that you won't have a problem.
I think that needs to be a case by case. I think ice time in some aspects like that needs to be a case by case basis.
Okay, but I'm meaning in general. I would say in general the technique. I'm not saying. I mean, that's always applied, right? That's always applied player by player. I mean, let's say I'm a coach and and a player comes over to me and says, "Look, lower my time. I think I'll do better." I'm lowering his time. You know what I mean? Like there's a basic idea when it comes player to player. I think that's a given. I'm saying when it comes to a general technique, a guy comes to me for an interview, what is your plan as a coach? And I say, well, I push my guys. You are going to be playing your 10 minutes. You are going to be playing your 25 minutes, your 26.7 minutes. You're playing your time, and you're going to play those full minutes. I don't see you playing those full minutes. I'm going to come in that locker room. I'm going to scream at you for 10 minutes about how you play lackluster 10 minutes, lackluster 26 minutes. And the next time you're going to go out there and play a hell of a game. You know what I mean? But if you're going to tell a guy, well, look, you didn't play well, I'm taking away your time, the player is not going to play better. The player, in fact, is going to have less time to work on his game and catch up to what's going on. That's called technique in general. You know what I mean?
I do agree with that, but I also think that there are times where a player may be exhausted or physically not there anymore and needs his ice time reduced. And a player will never admit that he is losing skill or size.
That's where the most important part of a team, and that is the people keeping track of their nutrition. You know, they say to the coach, hey, look, this guy's been skating. This guy's skating his brains off. He plays really hard. He needs less time on the ice. He's not gonna get back to his normal from. Okay, but that's the job of those people. That's exactly why those people are so vital. Guy, you remember in the playoffs, and Ashley, you remember that in the Golden Knights game, you had the equipment manager, run to get that stick from Mark Stone, who ended up scoring a goal seconds later from it, with how quick he did what he did. You think he's the only guy that does that? No, every single equipment guy is trained to do that. This is the part of the game that nobody sees. And I would love, someone once asked if they would do a position in hockey, like they have quarterback for the NFL on Netflix, what position would it be? And most people said goalie. And what I said is goalie's right. I would love to see goalie. But how would you like if they went to the behind the scenes of the health people and the equipment managers, what they do? Nobody realizes what they do. Not a single
I can see that. I can see that, Shags. I can see that to a point, right? I just, again, but when you get back to my point, what I was trying to get at is that your offense, when your number one line can stay on the ice and control the puck, that means their number one line doesn't have the puck. And now their number two line or their number three line has to pick up the slack, and they may not be able to. You have to, line for line, you have to control that puck. And when you are not controlling that puck, you are going to give up goals. Plain and simple.
I mean, that's where turnovers come in. I mean, that's entering you talk about rotation of the puck. Before the rotation of the puck, there's one more thing that's very important. And we discussed this the entire playoffs last year. And that is when you watched all these great teams, you saw how quickly they got into the offensive zone. It wasn't 6 passes to get in. It wasn't that they needed to figure out how to get in and have to play with the defense. It was 2 passes. They were in. It was the lead pass perfection. They were able to get that lead pass down ice into the offensive zone without having to pass too many times. That's a really, really big thing of a team. That's a really, really big thing of a team. You have to be able to get those quick passes to get into that offensive zone. And that, by the way, will also help your defense, because if that pass
North hockey. You need to play North hockey.
That's right.
And the
That's
Blues,
right.
they don't.
Downhill,
They
downhill.
They play stationary North hockey.
They call it downhill. You don't
Right.
want to be playing uphill and trying to get down that ice, and it's just rough, you know.
Well, a lot of times you see the pass for the Blues. The pass is to the guy standing at the blue line, waiting for the puck to get there. And when the puck gets there, now he's got to create momentum instead of already having that momentum going to the blue line. And that is a huge issue. And what happens when you've got to create that momentum because you're standing still at the blue line, that means the other team can come up to you and force you to make a bad pass at the top of the circles or at the dot, and then you're going the other way. If you're going to play that style of hockey where you're going to take it just to the circles or to the dot, you have to fire that puck around the boards to catch the guy coming up. Not a forecheck per se, but you got to have that guy coming up. If you don't have that guy coming up, you are in trouble. And you are
I don't disagree with you, Guy, but I think that you're failing to see that towards the end of the season, as much as people will say that, Vrana and Blaze and all them were not as good as what they were playing up above what their actual skill set is. Yeah. They actually made the Blues score more on the fly. And in the end of the season, we were scoring more on the fly than we have done in a while, thanks to those 3 key additions.
Yeah. There was a little bit more neutral zone play, better neutral zone play,
and scoring on the rush.
Do you think that's going to continue? And
you've been watching this show, Ashley, hopeful.
For 3 years now. For 3 years now, you've been watching this show. What has been my biggest complaint about the Blues for the past 3 years?
Oh, it's definitely been the neutral zone.
Well, I mean, so what makes you think that's going to change?
Well, I'm saying that it has changed slightly towards the end, and that I'm optimistic that they will start out the season strong. Yes, the dump and chase, Marianne, has been terrible in the past. But like I said, they were scoring on the rush at the end. That even Panger was talking about it the last month, about how the Blues had turned into a scoring on the rush team.
Just if it didn't translate into that many wins, though.
We actually had a good streak. We just didn't have enough time.
Well, I mean, we were the 10th worst team in the league.
Yeah, and we were a lot lower than that.
No, I think
we were like the 7th or 8th.
When the trade deadline came in, I think we were 9th. So we moved up 1 spot.
No, we were like 7th or 8th. We went in a bad tanking spree once we lost O'Reilly. Like, we were fine when we lost Tarasenko, but when we lost O'Reilly and Achari, that took the wind out of their sails for like 2 weeks. And then the last bit after that, we were on a streak.
I mean, there was no chance at the end of that season. I think the Blues were smart. They were really smart with what they did last season. I know you may not like exactly what they got back, but you had to. It wasn't a choice. The team wasn't together, and we could blame it on Berube. You could put it on whoever you want. This was what had to happen. I think they expected a downfall of this team anyways, and keeping these guys meant they're just leaving you, and they don't want to be there, and they're not going to play hard for you, and they weren't going to, they didn't have a strive to win. And guys like Achari were guys that you knew you weren't re-signing. He was going to get the bag anyways from some other team.
Yeah, well, I mean, Akari was a 1-year deal anyway, so that one...
Exactly.
The Akari trade doesn't affect me in any way, shape, or form.
The only thing that affected it was that it was him and O'Reilly, and he had been one of our top defensive players of the season.
Well, also Akari at a certain point was carrying the team. I remember I had to pick him up in fantasy.
I don't know if he was carrying.
I wouldn't say carrying, but he was definitely one of the surprises.
Maybe not carrying, but he was consistent. He was
one of the most consistent forwards that we had.
Stretch where he was getting
of that trade, the one that I questioned the most of those trades, the one that I questioned the most was Mikkola.
Really? Because I believe that Mikkola was gone either way.
Didn't he have another year?
No,
Where's
he's not.
Mikola now?
He's
Did he
not on the
sign with the?
Rangers.
I thought Mikola had another year. I'm almost absolute certain Mikola had another year, or he was an RFA.
I think he went to the Panthers.
Give me a second. You think Mikola went to the Panthers?
He went to the Panthers.
Yep, he went to the Panthers. He
went
had
to
1 year
Florida.
left. The Rangers figured we need depth at defense, and we wanted a bigger guy. With what he did for the Rangers last year was pretty good. I mean, he had a goal in the playoff. He had an assist in the playoffs. He was playing, around 15 minutes, a little less, around 13 minutes a night, 14 minutes, maybe a little less in the teens over there. He had a bunch of shots on goals in the playoffs. He was a +1 pretty much in the playoffs. He played around 19 shifts on average. He had a pretty good year last year, considering the fact that he was a defenseman that's not really a scorer or anything. He was a +4 last year, and he I don't look at plus and minus as much, but I mean, you have to remember that he was on the Blues. He was on the Blues, and they weren't doing much, and he's still a plus. At the end of the day, I mean, he was gone either way. They weren't re-signing Mikola, and if they did, they still could have signed him even if they traded him. So actually, I'm sure the Blues reached out to him, by the way. I'm sure the Blues called up Mikola and offered him something, and then the Panthers offered him something, and then I think it's a pretty obvious choice when the Blues and Panthers offer you something, which one you take at this point. I think you want, a winning team like that offers you money, you don't say no, in a sense. See, that's the part of hockey I love. I love that in hockey, you're paid a nice amount. You're not paid like $236 million for 7 years, like in baseball. You feel like you're playing because you like the sport. There's a cap space you have to keep. And these players are making an AAV that is nothing compared to any sport. I looked at the AAV of Austin Matthews. He's like an okay player in baseball or football or basketball.
He's like, I seen a thing today. It was on Twitter. In MLB, he's like the 113th. He would be the 113th highest paid player. In basketball, he beat the numbers. And you think basketball only has 12 guys on the team. He's still like in the hundreds. The closest was football at 88.
Yeah, it's at the end of the day, he's getting paid nothing, and that's what I love about the sport. I know that like my father-in-law told me he like stopped watching basketball because it got political, and it's not enjoyable to watch sports when sports and politics. The whole idea is that it's about sports. Sports is supposed to be like an outgoing thing. I think it's something down there. Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, it was more than that, Chris. Because I'll tell you something. You have to. You know what? I'll tell you. Cardinals. Guy. Can I lean on to the Cardinals for a moment?
Yes.
Go ahead, bud.
So So when you talk about ranking of sports, I would go hockey, football, baseball, basketball. I pride myself in baseball to really understand the sport. That's one thing I really understand a lot. The Cardinals are one of the most disappointing teams because of their pitching. And that's sad because when you had Ryan Helsley and you had Jordan Hicks and you had that entire bullpen of fire throwers and you had a starting pitching that last year, Wainwright was not this bad. And you got in Montgomery, who was a very good starter. He was a guy who gave up 2-3 runs a game, and that's it. Coaching was terrible this year. Hitting-wise, though, Nolan Arenado didn't have a terrible year. Paul Goldschmidt did not have a terrible year. Hitting around them, everyone was injured. They brought up rookies. At the end of the day, the Cardinals next year will not be a good team. And the reason why they will not be a good team is because they weren't a good team this year. They're going to be an average team next year. Look at the teams around them. Cubs are young and hungry. Pirates are young and hungry. The Brewers are still young, as much as you don't believe. Also, there's rumors of the Brewers going after all you have next year is offense. I mean, you have Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, you got Jordan Walker, you got a great hitting team, fantastic, and you'll probably trade Wilson Contreras. You don't, and Cincinnati, yeah, like Jason said, Cincinnati's scary. How are you going to tell me that they're going to go ahead and now outpitch teams? You don't have a lot of pitchers next year available. Julio Urias is available. He's decent. You're not going to be building up a crazy team next year. Just laying it out there. That's the Cardinals' point. You're not going to be a great team next year. You have just a couple hitters, and you don't really have pitching at all. You traded away Hicks. You're going to have to sign so many players to make your pitching staff. Anyways, back to you take in baseball, the amount of you take the amount these players are paid, and then they land up bringing all these political. You can't. Anyways, in hockey, the most entertaining thing is the love of the game. I mean, look at a guy like Guy. All right. Look at a guy like him. All right. How much effort he puts in to a show, right? He puts effort into a show. And if you ask him, and tell me, Guy, if I'm right, or probably 80% of what he does is because he loves hockey so much.
Because I mean, I don't make a dime doing this.
Exactly, but that's why I said 80, because I think around 10-20% would be you do it also because it's enjoyable in general having this podcast, and I think another percentage would also be just in general the idea of sports, talking
doing it professionally.
Right, exactly. But 80% is hockey. You 85 probably is hockey. None of us sit here and are getting paid to sit here and just say all these things, and anybody out there could say that they're doing it. They don't necessarily do it. And I know that when I had my podcast originally, one of the reasons why I stopped it is because I wasn't getting paid. I said to myself, it was destroying my love for the game because of the way that I didn't like certain things going on. And, I found that, I got to know the sport better and better throughout my years. And one thing I decided on myself is in order to really, really like a game, you cannot let money get involved. The second you have money in talking, you're not playing for that. My wife always talks about how all these top players in sports, like in the NBA specifically, they're getting paid so much money. They talk all they want. They say what they want. They're not necessarily good people. They switch teams. They have no loyalty. And at the end of the day, you look at them and go, really? So this is the player my kids are supposed to say, oh, wow, LeBron James. Oh, wow, this guy. Yeah. You might be a great player or whatever it is, but you're not exactly setting a good example to what.
Yeah, Netflix just released the HBO series Ballers,
right, with
The Rock, and I have to tell you, I've tried to watch it. I'm like 3 episodes in, and it's making me sick. It really is. It's making me sick. I almost can't watch it. Right?
I cannot blame you. That is, what? At the end of the day, if you ever watch Moneyball,
yes, I love Moneyball.
You will understand sports to a key of what it should be. Yeah. I'll tell you a story. There was a kid. I don't know if I told you the story. I was a counselor in camp, and these like younger kids, second, third graders, and it was the World Series. It's a one and done in the camp. It's one and done. And it's the top of the 9th inning. It's a tie game at 8. The team that is up in the top of the 9th gets up there and scores 6 runs. And the last run being on a double through the legs of the center fielder. Center fielder was the best player on his team. And he tried to get it and couldn't get the ball. Either way, he sat down. He said, okay, I'm done. We lost. We're down by 6, 7 runs. That's it. We're done. And I said to him, let me tell you something. It doesn't work that way. They scored 6 runs. You could score 6 runs too. And the kid, said, fine, we'll get up. Fine. He, bottom of the 9th, kid hit 2 home runs in the bottom of the 9th to walk it off. I looked at the kid when he's done, and I said to him, what did I tell you? You kidding me? That is legitimately exactly what sports is about. You don't know what's going to turn around. Now, to shift this to a whole nother way, when you look at certain teams and certain coaches, how much of a love of the game, how much are they bringing to their team? How much are teams playing because they enjoy the sport? I looked at a guy who I was so upset that he went there was Marty St. Louis. When he went to the Canadians, I can't say these words out loud. I was like, they're going to be a good team soon. They're going to. He has a love for the sport. And he's going to carry that on to his teams. He's going to.
The one problem that the Canadians have and they've got to get. They're lucky with Martin St. Louis, but at some point they have to get away from this hiring French-only speaking or French-speaking coaches and GMs and that. They have got to get away from that. That is handcuffing them so bad, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is the first time their captain now, Suzuki. I think this is the first time ever that they've had a captain that didn't speak French.
Well, you also have to realize that at the end of the day, what I think the Canadians gained with Marty St. Louis and in general, they picked correctly. I mean, how many of you would tell me that you would guess? I guess they were going to draft Slavkovsky, by the way. My father-in-law was sitting on the couch. He went, all right, probably Shane Wright, number 1. And I went, nope, it's going to be Slavkovsky. He goes, yeah, we'll see. And it was Slavkovsky. And I was pretty excited, even though I wasn't excited.
There was some, we talked about this with Wendy a little bit. There was definitely some character issues with Shane Wright.
What do you mean? He
up to the draft.
Terrible in the interviews.
Yeah.
He was terrible in the interviews.
That's what I heard.
They said that he had an attitude. Like, he thought I'm pick number 1. Like, that's how he looked at it.
Yeah, he told a few teams, why are you even talking to me? You don't have the first pick or something like that.
Exactly. You know, in the game, if you play NHL 2K, in the game, you could be a player, right? You play my player.
Yeah.
And you have to do interviews and you have to write the right answers. I said that's always the most accurate part of those things. You have to, you have to connect.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, by the way, a guy like Shane Wright can end up being a good player. Slavkovsky, though, was a player that, although he got injured last year, he wasn't meant to be a Connor McDavid. He's not as hyped as Bedard. He wasn't. Yeah. Nor was Shane Wright. Shane Wright was. But he dropped. Once he dropped, people went, nah, he's not the next.
And Shane Wright didn't have a good 9 games either.
Shane Wright's 9 games. I picked him up in fantasy. I had him on my bench. I didn't start him. But I had a couple times, where he was playing in the hat spots and I put him in. And I always said to myself, if Shane Wright would have just been that guy, I always want to have that guy that I drafted and I turn around to people and go, see, I knew it. Yeah. And when I drafted him and I dropped him after 2 weeks, I put on I have a chat for everyone in fantasy. Yeah. And I put on just the face of a guy with just like the straight line under the eyes. Yeah.
Actually, I'm in a keeper league. So.
Oh yeah. So 1 second, that league that we talked about last year, you still have?
Yeah.
All right. So what's your big moves? What's your big calls for this year?
I'm looking to trade Tarasenko.
You think he's not going to do well in the Senators?
No, I do. I just think that I can get a player for player or a player. I can get more for him than he's going to help me. Right? My team is not a solid team, and I have older guys, so I need to get a little bit younger, but I'm looking to guys that are going to help me get there. Yeah, Ash, what do you think? What is your opinion on this season?
Oh, I think the Blues are going to make the playoffs, but I think it'll be a first-round exit. But just making it after such a bad, season we had last year is improvement.
I seen something in, I think it's I Bleed Blue, that group. Let me see if I can pull this up here real quick. Let me see if I can pull this up. Give me a second. Yeah, here it is. I don't know how well this is going to show. Yeah, here we go. So let me let you guys see this. And I think this is dead on. And I've seen some other comments on it. But for me, there's a couple of flips and flops here. But where they have the Blues, I absolutely agree with it.
Okay, I'll tell you what I think on this after.
Hold on. So come on, guy. What are you doing? Here we go. Hopefully you guys can see this. There it is. All right. So they have the Avalanche at first, Dallas Stars second, Wild third,
You're ready.
Jets fourth, Predators 5th, Blues 6th, Coyotes 7th, Blackhawks 8th. I think 2 of those are right. The other ones could be switched around a little
I
bit.
would go Stars, Avalanche, Wild, Predators, Jets, Coyotes, Blues, Blackhawks.
What about you, Ash?
I don't think the Coyotes are going to be that good. I would swap.
Whoa. Let me. Here. This is the thing, though.
I don't see them. I actually think Chicago is going to be before Coyotes.
No.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
I think
let's-
that.
Come on, Shag. Let Ashley get her teams up.
Yeah. I'm gonna let her.
I think it'll be. I agree with the Stars, the Avalanche, the Wild. I think that Nashville will be 4th, the Blues will be 5th, then the Jets, then the Blackhawks, then the Coyotes.
Well, see, here's my problem with that statement on you, Ash. To say that the Blues will be 5th and make the playoffs means that in the Pacific that they're only going to get 3 teams in. And I can see 5 teams. I can see 5 teams in the Pacific better than the Blues right now.
You might see that, but I don't.
Okay. Fair enough. Right? I'm okay with the Avalanche. I think the Wild and Stars are flipped. I think the Jets and Predators are flipped. The Blues are okay where they're at. I think Arizona and Chicago's flipped. Right? I just think Arizona's playing for a draft pick. They're because of their stadium issues and some other things, they don't have the ownership to win right now. And that's why I don't think that Arizona is going to be that good. And I don't see the Blues making the playoffs.
So I don't understand why people put the Coyotes so far down, because I'm just going to look right now.
Put the who so far down?
The Coyotes. He doesn't
I
see
do
the
not
Coyotes
think-
being so poor.
Let me just see. 1 second. I think here's the problem. I believe that at the end of the day, if you look at Arizona, they have gotten already better. Your first line is Clayton Keller, Baron Hayton, and Nick Schmaltz. 3 dynamic players. Clayton Keller was he had 37 goals last year. 37. Okay? They had a 30-goal scorer on their team. How many 30-goal scorers were there on the Blues last year?
One.
So they shouldn't be any worse than the Blues. They got a better first line than the Blackhawks' first line, in my opinion. So Blackhawks ain't going. That number 1 line itself is already putting me above the Blackhawks. Number 2, their second line. Logan Cooley, Jason Zucker, 2 players. One's 19. Zucker's 31 years old. You have a 19-year-old playing center. Okay? And you have a left wing in Zucker who had 27 goals last year. And then you added Alexander Kerfoot, another veteran, to go sideline with a 19-year-old center. And then your third line is Michelli, Bukestad, and Krause, who, by the way, at a certain point in last year, they were pretty good. And then you have your fourth line. Defensively, Moser and Dumba. Remember, they signed Dumba. That's a pretty good defenseman to sign with Moser. Valimaki was one of the better power play defensemen, together with Sean Durzi, another veteran. Okay? And then you have Stetcher and Brown at the third defenseman. Lastly, V. Maleka and Ingram were a pretty good tandem. And by the way, on their injured reserve is Jacob Voracek and Shea Weber and Brian Little. At the end of the day, they have a pretty good. And by the way, just to remind you, in their minors, they have Connor Geeky, who also at a certain point last year was playing pretty well. Soderstrom, they have in the minors, is supposed to be a pretty good defenseman. He'll be up in the season. So I think, honestly, Coyotes are going to be a better team than you think. I don't see them making the playoffs. I do see that they're not going to be the greatest of teams because of the fact that they have a lot of spots that are okay. I don't see why putting the Coyotes ahead of the Blues, Blackhawks is so dumb.
I don't say it's dumb. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. one of the things that the Coyotes don't have, and I was talking to Wendy about this the other day. I think you were on with me, and ownership is an issue with the
Oh yeah,
Coyotes,
that might be the
and
biggest
that
issue.
that commitment that's not there, that trickles down heavily.
Right, the
And
cloud,
if those players don't feel that commitment, I don't care how good they are, you're not going to get out. And besides, they're dressing in a freaking college locker room.
Yeah, you know what? See, to Guy's point there, that's the only thing I will say is something that I would worry about with this team. That is something I would worry about. I would worry about ownership because it makes a big difference of the attitude of a team. See, if you look, that's why I was telling Guy last time, and actually, I don't know if you were listening, watching when we were talking about this, but we were talking about how the Golden Knights were a team that from top to bottom, from whatever person was in the background of their PR department to whoever cleaned the ice, they had everyone on par. Everyone had great attitudes. Everyone pushed. They had efforts. They really put great effort and work into the team. I look at a team like the Coyotes and say, nope, that's not there. So yeah, that does tell me that. But that's where I'm telling you, Guy, that I don't know if the ownership of the Blues or the ownership of the Blackhawks is any better situation than the Coyotes. And I think the Coyotes on ice have the better depth and the better talent that are coming on the ice. I do not believe a Blues team or the Blackhawks team will have better talent throughout their entire team than the Coyotes.
I disagree with that. I think the Blues can match the Coyotes player for player, and then they're much stronger in goaltending.
That's the only spot I'll take them
and
over.
I think they're stronger. I think they're stronger in defense.
I disagree. On their first line, you have Dumba and Moser, and on your second line, you got Vimalaika. I mean,
how old is Dumba now?
Dumba?
Yeah,
okay.
He's Dumba 31 or 32, right?
Dumba is 29.
29, yeah. I
think everyone else besides him, except for the fourth line, except for the third line of defense, you have Moser's 23, Maleka is 24, Durzi is 24, and you have a 29-year-old who, by the way, as much as you're playing him, Dumba was quite good. Okay, this is not a team that they are even paying that much to. Moser was drafted. Vimalaika they got on waivers. Durzi they traded for, and then they signed 2 cheap contracts to Stetcher and Brown. I mean, I don't see a reason why this team cannot be competitive. I see so much talent throughout it. And remember, they added players who have been to the playoffs. They added Alexander Kerfoot. They added Matt Dumba. Those are 2 players that have made it. Jason Zucker, a Penguin. They added him too. He's also a playoff experienced player. Just saying that there's not that much young, they combined young players with some pretty exciting guys. Now, this talent is nothing compared to the Jets, the Stars, the Avalanche, or the Predators. Okay? And that's why they won't be around there. But compared to the Blues and Blackhawks, I think definitely the Blackhawks are the worst team. As I said to Wendy, they will be behind almost every game. Their goaltending is their biggest weak spot. And when your biggest weak spot is that and your offense and defense is not good enough, you're going to be behind. That's going to make Bedard have less points. He's going to have to be climbing uphill the entire game. That's very, very hard.
Arizona had a good home record last year. They were 21-15-5 with 310 goals for and a 344 goals against. But yeah, they had a better they did better in the college arena than they did in the big arena. So I just looked that up real quick.
I mean, they got destroyed by the Blues in 22, but yeah.
Let's see. I think I got a...
No, sorry. The Coyotes were 2-0-1, and they were 2-0-1 against the Blues last year. You're talking... And if you want to put... And by the way, the team hasn't changed that much for the Blues. So adding even Hayes or something. And the Coyotes were 2-1-1 against the Blackhawks. Again, they are, and this was my main point to you before, is that their number one line is a professional NHL number one line.
Fair enough. I just, again, to me, top to bottom, that commitment's not there. And when that commitment's not there, it can chip away, especially late in the season.
Right. No, 100%. I agree with that. The entire game could.
Look at the Chichurin thing. Look how long that drug on. Right?
Well, yeah. I mean, look at the Blues last year. Look at them. The second that ownership,
I lost Ashley.
All right. Good night, Ashley. I mean,
Sorry, Ash.
Life happens, right?
Yeah. We overtalked her. She's mad at me. I know. No, she's not. She loves me. Hopefully we'll get her back soon. Yeah, we won't be much longer. Wow, we went further than I thought.
Guy, I was gonna ask you.
Yeah.
Who's your breakout goalie for this year?
Oh, I don't know.
Because I had a thought, but I wasn't sure. I think that this guy he was good last year. I just think he's going to be a easy Vezina trophy thought. And he's in your division.
I don't know. I really don't know. Are you talking Soros from?
No, I'm talking about Ottinger.
Ottinger? Oh, well, yeah. Ottinger, to me, is already breakout. He should have been a Vezina already, right? Ottinger is probably, right now, I think, the best goal. Now that Hullebuck's out of the division, he's the best goaltender in the division. I think it goes Ottinger, Binnington, Soros. Right? That's the way I would put it. Ottinger, Binnington, Soros.
Yeah. You know what? Soros has a chance, but I don't think that. I think that goes against him because of his defense. I don't know if it's going to necessarily be as good. That's why I choose Ottinger. I think Ottinger is also a player that you've seen so much highlights of him and some ridiculous games from him that I just say that at a certain point, it's just going to come clicking together in the regular season.
Oh, look what he did in the playoffs, man. He was fantastic.
That's what I'm saying. It's a guy that has a lot of high potential coming up for him, and I believe that he will definitely turn out to be a top 5 goalie in the NHL in the future.
Yeah. Well, guys, we're going to call this a night. Sorry, Ashley. Shaggy, sometimes me and Shag get going, and I apologize on that. Next show, Ash, just you and me, I promise. So hope you're not upset with us. Shag, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. We've had some good shows lately, so thank you.
I'm sorry if we went off too much.
No, man. It's just all part of it. You gotta. That's on me a little bit. I gotta reel that in some, but hey, you're fine, You're fine.
All right.
Shag. Amazing. Have a good night, bud.
Good night.
Okay, guys. I want to tell you thank you. I love you. Have a great weekend. See you on Monday, I hope. Maybe. I don't know. Aloha.